Okay. Great. All right. Thanks, Paul. Sure.
Forgotten what a field looks like for a corn cotton. If I'm gonna hit a traffic jam, really better be a tractor man. I'm so sick and tired of this interstate system. I need a curve and wind, a twist and
All right.
I'm here for you. With the wind blowing
And then
I have mine. Makes me wanna take a back road. Makes me wanna take the long way home. Put a little gravel in my travel. Unwind, unravel all night long. Makes me wanna grab my honey. Tear down some two-lane country. Who knows? Get lost and get right with my soul. Makes me wanna take a back road. Some old back road.
Change this.
Maybe it's a feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a freedom.
Yep. Perfect.
Maybe it's
At what point do the straw poll numbers get done?
It depends. And well, I would. I mean, if you want to read the resolutions of the poll, I mean, the first two that we read, if you want to get well, why don't you come on up? We have a chair for you. You, Chris, and Erwin will be up here because you're not going to be up here. Well, let's get another chair up for you over here. Now, one thing. Okay, so name.
Name changing first. So that should be this here. And what I'd like to do is, I don't want to have it's kind of show what your badge. Right. Perfect. And go ahead and hold them so people can see in the back. Yeah.
If you want to increase the font size too, because we want to look as big as possible. Somewhere, however, with some formatting.
Oh, great, thank you.
Oh, Chris, you know what you do.
Hey, how are you? Come sit here.
Are we good? Yeah. It's not showing up there, but I have it. We're good. I'm working.
Oh, you're running the computer.
At some point, I'm going to have to.
Is it showing? It is still.
Just let it.
They turned on I'm not crazy. No, I'm sweaty. No happy meeting.
So what we're going to do is someone's going to move to please give me resolutions except this step. And then you're going to go ahead and read the first two. And then
I can tell you, I've already been approached about telling me to. And all it is they want to add the Journalism Education Association.
well, someone can. Right. So which verse? Which one is it?
And one on the back number 13.
So we need to tell whoever's making the motion. Pull 7 and 13. And then Sunny,
I'll read the first two.
yeah, and then we'll vote, have discussion on block, and then we'll move to the ones that are off. And I don't know, I don't think we have to read those other things.
In that session.
Hello, folks. We will start in 1 minute, so please take your seats and feel free to read through the ethics code draft that was out front on the table. If you don't have one, please get one. It is a new draft that was just hot off the press, created at 2 p.m. today, so make sure to take a look at it. We're going to go, there's minor tweaks from yesterday. It's a new one, 2 p.m. Today we hammered that out. So, 50, yeah, so we will start soon.
Yes, it is.
I rounded up.
Yeah, it says 1:30 on your copy. I rounded up to 2. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. And before we start, I'd like for us to take just a moment of silence for the journalists killed this year. I mean, more than 30 journalists killed, more than 1,000 in the past 20 years, and particularly the two, of course, Stephen Sutloff and James Foley. Let's just take a moment, please. Thank you. Thank you. We are here for our closing business session for EIJ 14. Thank you for being here. Delegates are up front. Visitors and other folks are back there behind the line. It's been a great year for SPJ. We have been so excited about the new initiatives started. We have new communities, digital community, freelance community, chances for networking and learning for journalists. We have new training programs, new options for learning online. All of these things are exciting, not to mention our advocacy this year, which has just been phenomenal. We're helping improve the Federal Freedom of Information Act. We're helping get student journalists out of trouble and helping them push back against their administrations. All these things we do because we care about journalism. We advocate for journalism and journalists. It's who we are. And so be proud. Be proud of who you are sitting in those seats. We are a gathering that believes in the cause. And now our parliamentarian, Bob Becker, will explain the voting procedures.
Thanks, David. A copy of the standing rules of the convention are in your delegate packets on the information sheet. Each chapter has been awarded 1 vote for each 50 members or fraction thereof, Each delegate has been given a voting card or cards with the number of votes assigned to that specific delegate by your chapter. Delegates may not, I repeat, may not vote by proxy. You have to be in the room to vote. Accredited alternate delegates may vote in the absence of an accredited delegate, but the alternate must have the voting card of the delegate and votes the same number of votes. Members of chapter delegations must sit together, and during the voting procedure, only voting delegates or alternates replacing voting delegates will be permitted in the delegate section, which is in front of the stanchions. No delegate will be permitted to enter the delegate section after the start of a vote count, whether by card, roll call, or ballot. Anyone leaving the section after the count begins will not be permitted to return until the voting is over on that issue and the final count is reached. If necessary, a vote count will be taken by the Sergeant at Arms, Steve Guyman, and his assigned vote counters.
Raise your hand. The vote counters. There we go.
On each vote, accredited delegates should hold up their voting cards. If a delegate has more than one vote and wishes to split his or her votes, he or she must go to the microphone at the start of the vote count. Again, delegates who wish to split their votes may not vote from their seats. You must go to the microphone when the voting starts. If voting is by ballot and you have more than one vote assigned to you, you will receive the number of ballots comparable to the number of votes on your card. Again, you will not be permitted to vote if you leave the room during a count, and unless you have transferred your voting card to an accredited delegate. Are there any questions? Do we need a minute for everybody to sit with their delegations? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Before we get to the resolutions and business, I'd like to report the results of the election of national officers. Our newly elected board members are, for president, it is on, but no. Leave. Our president, Dana Newts. And please come up here as I call your name. Come on up and line on up. President-elect, Paul Fletcher. Yep. Secretary-Treasurer, Lynn Walsh. Campus Advisor-at-Large, Mike Riley. Director-at-Large, Alex Turquinio. Campus representatives. We have two campus representative positions. First one is Jordan Gaspore. And the second is Brett Hall. Region 1 Director, Rebecca Baker. Region 4 Director, Patty Gallagher Newberry. Region 5 Director, Deborah Givens. Region 7 Director, Rob McLean. Region 8 Director, Eddie Gallagher. Region 9 Director, Tom Johnson. And Region 11 Director, Matt Hall. The election, please stay up here, folks. The election was conducted electronically by secret ballot, reported by SPJ staff and verified by the Sergeant of Arms, Steve Guyman. I will now swear in our new officers, with the exception of the incoming president, who will be installed this evening. So, Dana, you're free to go. There you go. All right. We'll see you later. Sure, go take a nap, you know. All right. Repeat after me. Having been duly elected as an officer of the society, I do hereby promise to uphold its ideals. I pledge myself to do all in my power to perform faithfully the duties assigned to me and to serve fellow journalists, whether of the society or not, and so endeavor to enrich the profession with the ideals of the Society of Professional Journalists. This I promise and pledge myself to perform. Thank you. All of us congratulate you as new leaders of the Society of Professional Journalists. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Our first order of business then is the consideration of the Resolutions Committee report prepared by Sonny Alvarado, chair of the committee. The individual resolutions were made available earlier today at the registration desk. So we have the report. Everybody picked one up, I hope. And we're going to go through each resolution or perhaps otherwise vote a bunch in a clump. So that sometimes is a little expedient. We have a motion. And when you want to speak, please come to the microphone. I will call on you. We're going to use Robert's Rules of Order for this meeting, and which, before we start, I might as well kind of enunciate real quickly. One is try to keep our comments to about a minute if we can. Real concise. Journalism, you know, we like conciseness. We want as many voices to be able to talk as possible today. The other thing is I'll try to alternate when we get to issues where there's kind of different viewpoints, maybe two, pro, con. The first microphone we'll say is the yes microphone. The second one will be the no microphone. And Robert's Rules says try to alternate, you know, in debate. That's part of the rules. The other thing is if you've spoken twice on an issue, I will recognize someone else if there's someone else who wants to talk. That way, you know, more people get to talk. But if there's no one who wants to talk and you want to talk again, that's okay. And we'll just try to move this through as much as possible. We have a lot of stuff to go. Yes, Madam Bartlett.
Lauren Bartlett from Greater Los Angeles Pro. I move the resolutions on block except to remove number 7 and 13 and to read only resolutions 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
I second. Georgiana Vines, East Tennessee Pro.
Okay, we have a motion and second to vote on all the resolutions and as one vote, except for resolutions 7 and 13, and being told to read out resolutions 1 and 2. That is the motion on the floor. Any discussion? Yes, sir. You must be pro.
Mark Pitch, Madison Pro. I have a friendly amendment to resolution number 9, so I would ask that number 9 be pulled out of the block.
Okay, we have an amendment to pull 9 out of the block. Is there a second?
Yes, Paul Fletcher, Virginia Pro, I second.
Okay, and Madam Bartlett's accepted as a friendly amendment. Are we all cool with that? According to Robert's Rules, you have to say that. Okay, so we will pull that out as well. Any other discussion? The motion is to pull 7, 13, and 9 and vote on everything else at once and read the first 2. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. So first order of business, we can go ahead and let's just read the first 2.
All right.
Or no, let's hit the, yeah, let's read the first 2. Let's do that.
Do I need a microphone?
Yeah, come up here, Sonny.
I trained as a thespian, and I can enunciate and broadcast my voice. Anyway, resolution number 1, thanking SPJ President David Coulier. Whereas during the past year, President Dave Coulier elevated the Society of Professional Journalists' presence on the national stage regarding key issues of great importance to our democracy. And whereas President Coolier appeared before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, where he called out brazen federal agencies that have learned how to game the system and thereby weaken the Federal Freedom of Information Act. And whereas behind President Coolier's laid-back surfer boy demeanor, he lies an intelligent, passionate leader who will fight for what he believes in and who speaks out against government subterfuge, obfuscation, and obstruction. And whereas President Coolier correctly greeted the U.S. Justice Department's new rules for obtaining information from journalists with skepticism, and whereas this high visibility advocacy further reinforced SPJ's key role in safeguarding a free press and transparency in the government's relationship with citizens, and whereas President Coolier has shepherded a new vision for the future of SPJ that heightens its role as a national First Amendment advocate, and whereas President Coolier has presided over the first rewrite of the Society's Code of Ethics in nearly 20 years, and whereas under President Coolier's leadership, the 2014 Excellence in Journalism National Conference in Nashville, Tennessee, offered journalists from throughout the country an outstanding buffet of training, education, and inspiration, and whereas President Coolier maintained his coolness quotient by balancing his leadership of the University of Arizona School of Journalism with his leadership of SPJ, and whereas President Coolier further enhanced his coolness quotient by not only supporting Region 3 Director Michael Koretsky's interview with a zombie program in October 2013, but by actually appearing as a zombie. And whereas President Coolier did all this without having to drive in a rented car across 14,135 miles in 32 states, and whereas President Coolier's familiarity with javelinas, rattlesnakes, Gila monsters, and other cuddly creatures of the Sonoran Desert informs the tenacity and tact with which he advocates for First Amendment freedoms, and whereas, as SPJ President Dave Coolier has set a high bar for future national presidents, therefore be it resolved that the SPJ Convention of Delegates thanks Dave Coolier for his dedicated service to the Society during his term as President of the Society of Professional Journalists. Here, here. I'll drink to that. Resolution number 2, thanking the SPJ staff. Whereas the headquarters staff of the Society of Professional Journalists makes it possible for SPJ to provide strong professional development programs, defend the public's right to know through First Amendment advocacy, and guide journalists to act ethically, and whereas the staff has created another superlative National Journalism Conference in collaboration with the Radio, Television, Digital News Association, and whereas the stupendous display of talent, truth, and energy of Excellence in Journalism 2014 would not be possible without the SPJ staff's deep knowledge, tireless energy, two-way radios, running shoes, and Twitter hashtags, and whereas the SPJ staff has done and continues to do its good work despite the SPJ Board of Directors and a motley confederation of past presidents who think they know everything, and whereas the SPJ staff's high level of professionalism, skill, ingenuity, nimbleness, and ability to keep the EIJ-14 train running smoothly on very little sleep, excuse me. Therefore, be it resolved that the Society's Convention of Delegates thanks the SPJ staff for all its work and gives the staff a hearty "let's have another" for its work on Excellence in Journalism 14 in Nashville, Tennessee. And be it further resolved that the staff is requested to get more rest by sending fewer email messages leading up to Excellence in Journalism 15 in Orlando, Florida. Thank you.
Any further discussion before voting on this block of resolutions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. All right. Let's do Resolution 7 first. Was there someone who wanted to amend this resolution?
Michael Koretsky, Florida Pro. If this perchance beats all odds and passes,
Oh, wait. Is this the name one change?
Yes, this is the name change.
that's how much you want.
Let's do 9 first, and then 13. Go sit down.
Forget about it.
I always wanted to do that. All right. Okay. So no, resolution 9. Let's do that. Someone had an amendment for that.
Mark Pitch, Madison Pro. I propose to amend the final paragraph to read, be it further resolved that SPJ work with the Journalism Education Association and the Student Press Law Center to develop, et cetera, et cetera. So it would add, and the Student Press Law Center.
It adds just the Student Press Law Center?
Correct.
You mean JEA? No.
No, this is number 9.
This is resolution
Oh,
number
9,
9.
not 13.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Right.
Got him confused.
No, this is resolution 9 in the final paragraph.
Resolution 9.
I'll repeat it. So the final paragraph would read, be it further resolved that SPJ work with the Journalism Education Association and the Student Press Law Center. So the added words are,
Great.
and the Student Press Law Center.
Gotcha. Is there a second? Are we supposed to get who seconds it?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to go up, say who you are, where you're from, and say
Paul
your second.
Fletcher, Virginia Pro, I second.
Okay, great. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Now the full motion.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. It's amended. Okay. Now the motion is amended is to approve Resolution 9 as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Now it passes fully. Great. Okay. On to Resolution 13. Right. Right. Would someone like to move to approve Resolution 13?
We get to do it. This hotel is walk. Bill McCluskey, Washington, D.C. Pro. I move resolution number 13.
Is there a second?
Hagit Lamore, Cincinnati Pro, second.
Discussion. Did someone want to amend this?
Dave, I think I misunderstood my instructions earlier on. I mistook 13 for 9, so that was the one that needed to be amended.
Okay. Good. No one wants to amend it. All
That's
those in
my
favor say aye. Opposed? Good. It passes. All right. Now, on to Resolution 7. Did anyone want to make a motion to pass this resolution?
Eric Francis, Arkansas Pro. I move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve Resolution 7. Any second?
Yep.
Got to go over there, Carl.
Second, Carl Corey, Long Island Pro Chapter.
All right.
But I want to have an amendment when I can.
Okay. Certainly, we can go ahead and move to an amendment. Go for it.
Can we take out the stupid one about gnashing of teeth, please? The whereas? That one? Yeah. I just want to remove the line about the proposal to...
Okay, so the motion is to remove the line regarding gnashing of teeth. That's the amendment.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last whereas.
That's it.
Point of order?
Yes, sir.
If I submitted it, do I have to approve it? Because I approve not being stupid.
I'm sorry.
No,
sorry, what?
You can remove the word stupid if it has to be in the minutes.
I'm just not sure of the procedure. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh,
My
like
motion.
a friendly amendment.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
cool with just having that taken out.
I need an editor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're in agreement. We're simpatico here.
Okay. All right. So friendly amendment, the motion on the floor, the main motion, is approval of Resolution 13 without the last whereas. Or 7. 7, sorry.
Well, can I add
discussion?
Can I? Okay, can I make a friendly amendment to my own motion?
I think you can, right, Bob?
I think you can.
Okay.
Am I at the wrong microphone?
Yeah.
Unless you're opposed to your motion. It wouldn't surprise me if you oppose your own resolution.
So, I'm organizing my thoughts around that entirely new concept.
Okay.
I would like to make a friendly motion to my own motion that says, should this pass, because it actually occurs to me that it actually has some support this time, is that I would ask this legislative body to postpone this from going into effect until there is an official vote, not a straw ballot with one little sentence, of the general membership, because I don't think we should make big decisions like this just the people in this room when we have 7,500 members. So if it did pass, how do I do that? Or how do I ask these guys to let that happen?
Well, excuse me, Michael, this would require a bylaws change. So that could not actually happen until a year from now when a bylaws amendment is submitted to the convention.
So
In effect, it will be postponed.
So if it was passed, then it would go to the bylaws committee. But could this, while that was playing out, could this body authorize? I'm basically backing up what Paul Fletcher said at the opening business session, that one of his goals is to make sure that in this new day and age when everyone can vote, that everyone should vote. So I'm just trying to do more of that without taking up all the time I already have.
Okay. Did you want to hear what the straw vote totals were that were on the ballot?
No, not really. Yes, of course.
Well, we can pull those up right here. We had 205 yes votes for 34% yes, 345 no votes for 58% no, and 46 no opinion votes for 8%. So the feeling of, it was like 638 who voted or something like that, which was 9% of our membership. Our turnout rate is not the highest. That's what we have. It looks like 58% aren't in favor, 34% are.
Right, but I'm saying that was the ballot language was just one sentence without any context. If this group votes on something, it gives it context. All the comments would be aggregated. But I would agree that we do this again. If that same thing happens, that I wouldn't support my own motion. I'm going to sit down now.
Okay, no, Michael, just to clarify, to make sure what you're saying.
I'm at the wrong microphone. Erwin Gratz, Maine Pro. Just a suggestion.
Please.
And if you want, I suppose you could. I guess it would require maybe a friendly amendment to make the change contingent upon perhaps another straw vote. And if the vote passes, it's okay. If the motion maker makes a contingent on a straw vote, I don't think, Bob, we need a bylaws change to do that.
Well, we need a bylaws change to change the name of the society.
True.
But to answer your particular question, Michael, the convention has the authority to approve a bylaws change. The board cannot delegate that authority to the membership because the bylaws say that the convention is the mechanism for voting on a bylaws change. So I can't think of a way that the board, which could delegate that power to the membership at large.
You're saying there's no way SPJ members can vote on something?
Not in a binding vote as a whole, only through delegates.
So what if we have a number of other issues coming up? What if this body votes on something and makes its own approval contingent on a vote of the membership?
That's what I was suggesting.
I don't understand why that's a problem.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to sit down.
Okay, so Michael's friendly amendment to his own motion is something to the effect of, and we'll call this back up here, Erwin, I think. How do you want to phrase this? That the...
You got to be kidding. I don't know. I did...
That it's contingent on the results of a membership survey?
Fine. That would be great. And if the membership vote goes against this particular, if this delegation approves it and the membership does not, this membership agrees to withdraw its motion.
All right. Well,
please.
No, your amendment was already incorporated, right? We took out the whereas at the end, right?
There's got to be a way. Look,
Yeah.
you guys are smarter and prettier than me. There's got to be a way to do this. There's got to be a way for us to be able to allow our membership to vote. This delegate system was set up before there was online voting. There's got to be a way within our rules that if we want to, if we decide to, if they decide not to, that's fine. But if this body decides that it wants the membership to make more decisions, there's got to be a way to do that within the rules. That's an incredible brain trust up there.
Okay. So do we have the wording? How's it worded?
There it is on the screen. I propose, and therefore be it resolved, this section shall be contingent. I'm sorry. And therefore it be it resolved that this action shall be contingent upon approval of SPJ membership in a straw vote.
Okay, got it. And as far as Carl, your thing, we had the friendly amendment, right? We don't have to vote on that. Right, Bob?
That's correct.
No, that's right. No, so that we took care of that. A discussion now on this motion with all these friendly amendments.
Does it have a second?
Does it have a second?
Do we have a second on this? What we see here now, resolution 7. A second?
I'll second Andy Schatz, DC Pro.
Okay, Andy Schott seconded. Discussion. Go ahead.
Danielle McLean, the New England chapter president. As I'm new to this whole delegate thing, but aren't we elected to represent the rest of the chapter?
Mm-hmm.
So why are we putting in this amendment?
Other discussion? Lauren?
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro, just to follow up on that and restate what I've said previously on the convention floor. Our chapter believes in representative democracy, and that we believe that the system works, and so we would urge a no vote on this resolution.
Other discussion? Mr. Koretsky.
I would just remind everybody that this delegate system represents only people that are in chapters. So you have, according to Paul Fletcher at the opening session, 43% of SPJers who cannot be represented in this vote here today. Big major decisions, I don't think, should be made with 43% not being represented. We want to pass resolutions, good, honest resolutions about honoring our fallen journalists. That's great. I think if we're passing big decisions, we should figure out a way. Technology exists. Other journalism organizations do it, to talk directly to our membership and let them talk directly to us.
Okay, let's hold the applause if we can. Go ahead, Sue.
Hi, Susan Stevens, Chicago Pro. We had a straw poll that we just voted on. The 58% were against a name change, 34% for. Are we going to ask our membership to do yet another straw poll? Or are we going to say, hey, this first vote doesn't count. We want you to vote again. I mean, that's going to look kind of suspicious, like we want them to change their minds.
Other discussion? Mr. Koretsky.
Just a note, Sue, Michael Koretsky, Florida Pro. That straw ballot, I didn't have anything to do with the wording. It's one sentence that doesn't really explain very much, and the way this works is when there's more debate, there's more awareness. That was the first time we did it. I think that language was kind of like voting in my proxy vote for my stock. Like, oh, John Doe is running for the board, sure. There's no other context to it. I think if we did a straw poll either for this or for anything else in the future, we would want to lend more context for our members.
Any other discussion? Yes, Ms. Becker.
Hazel Becker, DC Pro. I think this is the second year that a similarly worded something has been brought to an SPJ convention to be voted on, and it was voted down last year. And I think that we ought to put an end to this now and be done with it and move on with the other more important things we have to do.
Other discussion?
Danielle McLean, New England chapter president. Just want to remind everybody that, when we did the straw poll, only 8% of the entire turnout actually voted, even though we sent them to every single member of SPJ. We have, the entire delegation here is here present voting. So that's one thing. Second, have we ever made an amendment and made a major change or made a major decision with a straw poll? Has that ever been done?
Not to these old white guys' knowledge. So they say. Yes.
Hagit Lamore, Cincinnati Pro. I call the question.
And that's on the amendment. That's on the amendment.
Oh, someone called the question?
On the amendment.
Sure, second.
Bill McCluskey, DC Pro, second.
This goes straight to a vote. 2/3 vote stops debate. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're voting on whether to end debate. Yeah, we're... What? What? So we could do that again if you want. Okay. So someone called the question, which means end debate and go to a vote. Straight with no more discussion. That's what we're voting on. Do you want to just end discussion on this and just vote on this resolution? If you want to do that and move on, then say aye. If you don't, wait, no. If you don't, vote no. And there's no debate on the question, right?
That's correct.
All right. All those in favor of ending debate, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we end debate and go straight to the vote. All those in favor of the motion that had all these friendly amendments, right? Everybody understand the motion?
Can you clarify, we're voting on the amendment, not
No, there's no amendment here. We're on the main motion. Because they were friendly amendments, see?
Michael Kretsky made a motion and I made a second to amend his motion. Isn't that what we're voting on?
The friendly amendments. Okay. So all those in favor of this resolution as worded up here, saying like we're going to change the name contingent on people voting, members voting, say aye. All those opposed say no. No. Motion fails. Resolution fails. Wow, a lot of ayes though. Michael, you got to feel a little good there. Very good. All right. Okay. Moving on. That ends our resolutions. Thank you. Good job. Next, we're moving on to proposed bylaws change. The proposal change is to eliminate potential technology failures that could impact elections. It would also eliminate unnecessary work at convention for SPJ staff who have to rely on cooperative technology to continue adding voters while on site. Logging into the system, isolating the members that joined since staff left Indianapolis, and then uploading them into the electronic system, I guess is a lot of work to capture a very small number of new members. By passing this proposed change, staff will be able to do the required work before leaving Indianapolis, eliminating the technology concerns and extra work while on site. I should point out that the board voted in April to recommend that the delegates pass this bylaws change. The bylaws committee, however, did not support the change in its report to the board. They preferred the staff create an administrative solution, but they didn't offer details as to what that might be. So this is kind of a little bylaws change. It affects mechanizations of our election process. Do I hear any motion to approve this bylaws change? You'd have to go up to the microphone, move, approval. That's okay. I like hearing from you, Lauren. Go ahead.
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro. I so move.
Second? Anyone?
Mary Wisniewski, Chicago Pro. I second.
Great. Discussion. Anyone want to talk about it? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Now, on to the ethics code revision, what everybody's been waiting for. I have to say I do apologize for those who attended the session yesterday on this. As I said earlier in another meeting, I was probably a douchebag, and so I apologize to anyone I might have offended. I did not mean to offend. If my tone was tired in that afternoon meeting, it probably was, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful to anyone. But as you know, we've been working on this for the past year. My idea last year is, hey, it's been a while. Let's take a look at it. Who cares what happens? I mean, something good, we hope, right? It's so important, the code is. But it could be, anything could happen. Maybe no proposal. After input from the members, the chapters, the public, this committee of 16 drafted something together before convention. You all had a chance to look at it. Then there was quite a bit of discussion yesterday. A lot of people had issues with it, right? And Andy Schatz, sitting around here, had some very detailed suggestions. So following the meeting directly, Andy and Kevin Smith, who leading the committee, and the other committee members sat down and worked through it. They sat down and kind of talked it out. They looked at it, they figured out how can we reach something that we can live with that makes sense. And I think the consensus of the committee was that it made a better product. And so then you had an email out regarding that today. And then the Northern California chapter, NorCal, also came up with some ideas and thoughts they felt really strongly about. And so this was last night, I think we got that, late, I'm not sure what time. And then, like great people we are, I'm so proud of this organization. Everybody sat down, went through it, figured out what makes sense, how can we make this better, and at 1:30 today came out with kind of an updated version, the one you have in your hand. And so I think I'm quite happy that people could work together. Whether or not we approve it today or not, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just happy to see that process go. So you have what you have, and we can start, if you want, to go through the specific changes that were made in the past 24 hours. Or, no, we want a few words? Okay, Hagit, go ahead.
Hagit Lamore, Cincinnati Pro. I move that we accept this amended latest version, final draft of the Ethics Code revision.
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro. I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this latest version, the 1:30 version. Now we can talk about it. And would it be helpful to you to go through the changes that were made in the past 24? No, it would not help you. I'm hearing yes. Okay, so Chris Roberts, would you like to walk us through? There aren't a lot, really. I mean, a dozen maybe?
I believe so, and I will do my best and may need to call on Kevin Smith and some others to help me as we work through this. I'm Chris Roberts from the University of Alabama Student Chapter, and let me make this bigger on the screen. How about that? Again, these are the changes that came from meetings with many constituent groups during the past 24 hours. The first of that, and many of these are just cosmetic, and bullet number 1, we changed to releasing it instead of release. In number 3, we try to make it cleaner, provide context instead of put information into. For number 7, we revised the statement from what it was. Today, there was a sentence in the previous drafts that you've seen. We eliminated the phrase, "do not grant anonymity merely as license to criticize." Under bullet number 9, we dropped the word reporting to methods of gathering information. Under number 11, we revised this to say support the open and civil and that is new, and civil exchange of views, even views they find repugnant. The thinking behind this is thinking about responses, comments underneath stories from readers and others. Under number 12, you can see the revision as it is. Today we added to serve as watchdogs over public affairs and government, and then added a sentence, seek to ensure that the public's business is conducted in the open and that public records are open to inspection. Bullet number 16, we revised the second sentence. We eliminated what you see struck through. What we added is journalists should examine the ways their values and experiences may shape their reporting. Under bullet number 18, we never deliberately distort facts or context, including visual information, changing that from news content, excuse me. Some wordsmithing as we move to minimize harm. For number 1, you can see the change. We remove the word irreverence because, well, we're irreverent sometimes. For bullet number 2, this was a revision that several of you requested. We changed this to show compassion for those who may be affected by news coverage. Use heightened sensitivity when dealing with juveniles, victims of sex crimes, and sources or subjects who are inexperienced or unable to give consent. Our concern thinking about people, someone can explain that as we wish later. And the sentence remained, consider cultural differences in approach and treatment. Do you want to explain why we changed that one?
Which one?
The sources who are inexperienced or unable to give consent.
Well, sure. We wanted to add that just to talk about individuals who may be medically incapable of giving consent. It's kind of a catch-all to catch anybody we've not mentioned elsewhere who's, not able to be as conversant with reporters and the journalistic practice as others might be.
To bullet number 3 under minimize harm, we included the words or broadcast to include our broadcast brethren. Number 5, a change, avoid pandering to lewd curiosity, even if others do, replacing the draft that you had in late August. Number 6, we revised this to make it cleaner. Balance the subject's right to a fair trial with the public's right to know. Consider the implications of identifying criminal suspects before they face legal charges. Balance a suspect's right to a fair trial with the public's right to know.
It is. It's just redundant.
We fixed that. We fixed it in the draft. Trust me on this. Yeah. These are my changes as we were taking notes in groups. It's the original document, I believe, is accurate that you have in your hands. My apologies. I was doing this while Alabama was playing a football game. You have to understand.
That makes it.
We all have our priorities.
Roll Tide. Yes. Number 7, you will not see the suicide clause. The board asked us to remove that. Others did so. That has been removed. And under the last one, consider the long-term implications of the extended reach and permanence of publication, period. We're moving especially online, so it, as the Northern California said, so it doesn't seem like we're picking on online people particularly. It seems more broad that way. Under Act Independently, bullet number 2, refuse gifts, favors, fees, free travel, and special treatment, and avoid political and other outside activities that, and here's what's new, may compromise integrity or impartiality or may damage credibility. Number 4, deny favored treatment to advertisers, donors, or any other special interests, and resist, and this is new, internal and external pressure to influence coverage. We wanted the word resist in there, saying that you don't have to get fired if you don't agree with what your boss says. But sometimes it is our ethical interest to resist internal and external pressures that would influence what we do. In the bullet under distinguishing news from advertising, we changed clearly to prominently because that is what a better change. And finally, under the 4th, be accountable and transparent. Under the subhead, this is now changed to ethical journalism means taking responsibility for one's work.
Should be a pass.
Did we get in the version that you're seeing?
Yeah.
I got it the second time. And explaining one's decisions to the public. Got one of them right. I bet it 50%. Exactly. I think Alabama shut them out today. Number 1, explain ethical choices and processes to audiences. Encourage a civil dialogue with the public, and between members of the public. Again, thinking about commenting about journalistic practices, coverage, and news content. The coverage was added to clarify that practices and news content are not all that we do. Coverage is also included.
Yeah.
Ooh, did I miss that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, rats. My apologies. Yes. Number 3, we acknowledge mistakes and correct them promptly and prominently. Explain corrections and clarifications carefully and clearly. Taking out thoroughly. Yeah. Number 5, abide by the same standards they expect of others. This was a change requested by some to argue that it's not just people in power we should be expecting high standards of, but at the same time we should not be hypocritical. And finally, there was a line that suggested we should adhere to the values in this code in all interactions with the public, eliminated as redundant. And finally, under the italics at the end, we removed a living document and added the adjective abiding principles. Those are the changes that we made based on your recommendations.
Thank you, Chris. Before we get to discussion, do you want to hear the straw poll results on this? And it isn't this version, though, that people voted on, mind you. So that's something to keep in mind. But in general, this is what our membership thought about updating the code in general. Oh, no applause, no applause. I hate this version. I hate it. I'm joking. I don't even know what it says. I mean, I didn't have time to look at it, but I mean, running around yet, so I'm learning. And that's good for a chair not to care. So, I'm sorry, what? Pull it up. All right. No, yeah, right. So the no is 10%. Yes is 75%. No opinion is 16%. So for those in the back who may not see this, 3/4 of the people who voted said, yeah, we should update the code. And I forget the exact wording of the, do you support the latest draft of the revised code of ethics was the exact wording. So, you know, they may change their mind if they read this version. I don't know. So that's the results of the straw vote, a gauge of what 600 and some people thought, SPJ members. Discussion on the motion. Hagit.
So I'm just going to kind of turn around and address everybody here. So there was an email that went out that said, do you remember what car you were driving 16, 17 years ago? And all of my students reminded me that they were still in diapers, so no, they did not remember what kind of car that was. That's how long ago since this code was revised. And we're in a different world now. All of us who are journalists are dealing with different technology now. We are all needing a code for now and for the future. This is what the Ethics Committee worked for a year, taking in hundreds and hundreds of comments, rewriting this 3 times before we got here to try to take into account what everybody had to say. And then the other day, we listened. We listened to the criticism that came through from all kinds of people. It wasn't just the 2 people that we've mentioned. It wasn't just NorCal, and it wasn't just Andy. It was other people in the room too who said, hey, we want some revisions here. And the committee listened and revised and incorporated everything that we could. Do we all agree about every single word in here? Probably not. Because if you take this revised document and hand it out to every person in this room, you're going to come up with that many versions. Nobody writes the same. Trying to write in a group is difficult. But I truly believe this is the best document, collaborative document that we can come up with. And I urge all of you to vote for it. Vote for it now. To discuss it for another year, to me, would be wasting time. I want a new code now. I want to be teaching my students who I have now this code, not the old code. And I, as a working journalist, want to be able to cite this code. So I urge the delegates to vote for this.
Thank you, Hagit. More discussion. You have to go to the microphone. The front microphone is if you're for it. The back microphones if you're against it.
Are you trying to keep people apart so there's no fit fight?
Right. Well, no, so we can alternate as per Robert's rules.
Tom
Yes.
Johnson with the Rio Grande chapter, New Mexico. Can we speak to specific language in this now, or is it just?
You can say whatever you want. This discussion,
All right.
well, to the topic being
Yes.
this motion.
No, I think I have a slightly different version, but in the version I have on page 2, line 36, the language says that we seek to ensure the public's business is conducted in the open, terrific, and that public records are open for inspection. I fear that that is too narrow, in that perhaps some of you have worked in data journalism, have had the situation where you walk into the judge's chambers and they say, yeah, you can look at the record, but that's it. You can literally just sit and look at it. And I would suggest adding language something like this, excuse me, open, public records are open for inspection, retrieval, or copying or duplication, so that we can actually get the data besides just looking at it.
Is that an amendment? Is that a motion to amend?
Yeah.
You need a second?
Yeah, you have to go to the mic, so I'm going to have to take Sally.
So Sally
I have to take Jane
NorCal.
Kirtley over here. Jane Kirtley seconded. Inside joke, sorry. Yes. Okay, so the amendment is to add retrieval. What was it, Erwin? Copying or duplication.
I just want y'all to be able to edit me. Thank you.
Okay, so we now have an amendment. We have to deal with this amendment first. Discussion on this amendment.
Yeah, I'm all in favor.
Oh, say who you are. Where are you from?
Ben Myerson, Chicago Headline Club. I'm all in favor of encouraging access for public records, but that makes a really long and convoluted sentence. Well, we don't. Well, we copying and duplication are the same thing. They're very similar in the context of this statement.
Yeah, let's be civil, everyone. Everyone has a choice to go up there and say their piece.
Anyway, I think that we have made our stance quite clear as an organization on where we stand on public records being available. So I would say, at the very least, nix either copying or duplication. I think they're close enough that the sentence is already quite long. That's I would say that, yeah, inspection and duplication.
Okay, other discussion? I mean, are you asking him to amend his amendment? Yeah. Is that what you're asking him to do?
Yes, I suppose I'm asking that.
And so, Tom, I mean. All right now he's saying he's fine with striking copying. Any other discussion? Okay. Did you want to say something, sir? Well, step up to the mic.
Thank you. Kevin Smith, Chairman of the Ethics Committee. I think we need to be careful that we ran into this on some of the comments and everything like this. This is a code of ethics. It's not a code of best practices. And I think what you have to consider is asking yourself, when you start saying that you want to see inspections and retrieval of copy and duplications and those kinds of things, you have to ask yourself what's the moral or ethical issue that's involved here. And if what you're saying is that if you as a journalist go in and you demand public records and you don't ask for inspection and retrieval, that you're behaving unethically, I think you have to be careful about trying to use a code of moral conduct to become a First Amendment or a press rights issue. And I think you've got to be careful about the language that you use. So I would caution you against trying to put legal issues in to a code of ethics.
Other discussion?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me add one more thing. We have talked at length, and I'll repeat this. So after we have this code, there is going to be a repository or a library that sits behind the code, and a lot of these things will be explained, so that we don't try to overload this code with language. What we do is we try to keep it simple and manageable, and then behind the code, this is a perfect example of something that can sit behind the code and have extension like a position paper that explains your role and responsibility as a reporter, both legally and morally. But I would encourage you, this is exactly where this would fit, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. And let's try to please keep our comments to a minute if we can. Just Al?
Yeah, Al Cross, Kentucky. I agree with Kevin to a point. You don't want to get into too many details, but once you add inspection to that sentence, then you're saying, okay, what should we be advocating for? This, to me, is a great piece of this code that melds our two main missions, ethics and freedom of information. And what this provision says is we have an ethical responsibility to ensure that public records are open, to advocate. We could do without everything after the word open, but once you add inspection, you might as well put more detail. I'd be for taking out the detail if everybody else was, but just wanted to make that clarification.
So, no, so are you for this amendment? Okay. And Hazel, you're against this amendment?
I have a
Or for
alternative to this. Hazel Becker, DC Pro. Instead of putting any of those details in, how about saying, and that public records are open for public use? And then the commentary behind the code would spell out what public use means.
Okay, wait a minute. Before Hagit, wait a sec. Are you asking Tom to change that to
For public, to change all of that after open.
public records are open
For public use.
for public use?
My suggestion is just to say public records are open, period. Public records are open, and then you can link to, that means for inspection, for retrieval, for duplicate. Then we can explain. Just the public records are open.
All right, we now have another amendment. Well, wait, it's not an amendment yet. Did Tom, did you want to just go with that or no? Okay, so the amendment on the floor is to just have it read that public records are open, period. So that's what the amendment is right now. Yes, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah Kroll, Valley of the Sun Pro chapter.
Oh wait, did we have a sec? No, we didn't need a second. Friendly amendment. Never mind. Deborah, go ahead.
I want to, have another go at this. Public records are open to all because we have a big problem in tribal communities that sometimes only tribal members can see records. We want to make sure that any government records are open to everybody. So open to all. That would be my suggestion.
So you would say public records are open to all.
Yeah, that's it.
Period. Now, what do you think of that, Tom? Tom, are you friendly with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with open to all.
Okay. So we're taking out all that other stuff, and it just ends up, and the public records are open to all. That is the amendment on the floor right now that I'm hearing. Any other discussion on this amendment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, amendment passes. Now we have this main motion to adopt this 130 version as amended. Any other discussion?
Christy Nelson, East Tennessee Pro Chapter. Line 84, under be accountable and transparent, I would seek to amend between members of the public to among members of the public in accordance with AP style. It's, where is it? Encourage a civil dialogue with the public.
Encourage a civil dialogue with the public. No.
It's,
84.
yeah, it's not on ours, but it was on what was up here earlier.
Oh, what?
It said between members of the public. I thought it should say among members of the public.
No. We have with. Yeah, no, but it's the next part. It's this part.
Sorry, we're gonna get up and see in a second.
This with was supposed to be Shirley's with and Ron, like what she said. It was a second.
Okay, well then if it's already changed, it doesn't matter.
Is this?
Okay, never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind. Never mind. Hey, someone else want to speak? Yes, Mr. Koretsky.
Michael Koretsky, Florida Pro. Is it possible to put up the version we have in our hands and the version you're working with on a split screen?
Would that be easier?
Well, it's really hard to. The numbers don't match up really, and
okay.
It's.
The numbers change because we've added.
I understand. It's just hard for us to. The numbers don't mean anything now, so we're just trying to. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one, but I would like to see what's going on.
Take all the caps off. Remove that. There you go.
And what we heard is take the numbers off. Was that? No, leave them on. Okay, it's fine. Yes, ma'am.
I have an amendment. Liz Enox, Northern California Pro. I have an amendment to the code that's not on that list. That's in the main code that doesn't include changes. I move that we delete the. I think it would be the third bullet point under seek truth and report it. Reading, remember that neither speed.
Wait a minute, let's find it. Got it. Go ahead.
Remember that neither speed nor format excuses inaccuracy. I move to delete that line. We see that we had a discussion within our chapter, and the thinking is that that is sort of finger wagging, feels aimed at digital media, and it's also redundant. We say in the previous bullet point, take responsibility for the accuracy of their work, verify information before releasing it. So it's really already covered. We think it's redundant.
So we have a motion to remove that line. Is there a second?
Sally Lehrman, NorCal, second.
Discussion. No? Oh, it has to be from another chapter. Sorry.
Hazel Becker, DC Pro. I second.
Thank you. Discussion. No discussion? Andrew, you have to run to the mic. And I mean run. Run. Go for it. Oh, you're not a delegate, are you? Okay. Well, I'll give you permission, but keep it under a minute, please.
Andrew Seaman, incoming ethics chair. That wasn't necessarily aimed at digital media, and we actually had a discussion about this yesterday. It's for headlines, story teasers, things like that. So, you know, maybe you're coming from it at it from a digital point of view, but it's actually for really anything, promos, anything like that. That is an abbreviated version of the whole story.
Other discussion? And the two standing back there is probably on something else other than this, right? Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Elizabeth Donald, St. Louis Pro, part of the Ethics Commission. And yes, this was, I would strongly oppose removing this. I work for a traditional newspaper, but everyone is working online. If you're working for a newspaper, you're working for a magazine, a radio station, a television station, we're all working online. And the push for immediate, just get it online, do a burst, within 5 minutes of the meeting's beginning, we want to see something new online. It is important for us to underline not only that, that our final product is accurate, but that everything, no matter how quickly we have to put it out or what format we do it, is going to be accurate, in my opinion.
Mr. Koretsky.
Michael Koretsky, Florida Pro. Can't we just remove that and put it in the living code part? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say living code. The backup stuff. Supporting materials. Sounds like, how many syllables? Yes, if we, I would support the motion and say we could take that out and meet Andrew's needs by putting it in the section that Kevin was referring to.
Okay, so you're supportive of the amendment?
Yes.
Gotcha. And remember, that microphone, I see it as the against microphone. So, yeah, there you go. That's the against microphone? The back one is. The front one is the for.
Hey there, Meredith Cummings, Alabama Pro Chapter President. I am opposed because I think format is important. I'm standing in front of students every day, and if it takes us this long like it did 1996, there's going to be other formats. I want to be able to use the word format to people that are learning how to do journalism. That's all.
Sally?
Okay, Sally Lerman, NorCal. And actually, the reasons that have been brought up against this are precisely the reasons we think it is important to remove. And let me explain. That is because we are in a digital world. There is no reason to pull out digital as some sort of separate area. We are all working faster than ever. We are working across multiple formats that are going to be changing. You know, in 6 months we'll be talking about new formats. So to me, I think it's it makes the society look like we're kind of stuck in print. Frankly, that's how it's going to be read. And number two, if we want this to be an enduring code that we can all work with going forward, then I think we're much better off putting in the supporting material, reminding people about format, about speed, but not spelling it out, because we've said in a couple places in this code that we need to be accurate.
Yes, sir.
Paul Carr, Baylor University chapter. I would just say, with working with young students, you need to spell it out. And that spells it out. I'm opposed to the change.
Any other discussion?
Tom McKee, Cincinnati Pro. In broadcasting, I know our shop and many other shops, I'm with WCPO in Cincinnati. If somebody tweets out something or puts it out on Facebook or puts it out in an email blast, whatever, we have to respond right away. We're expected to confirm it right then and there. And it seems to me what we're getting at here is whether the speed of not confirming that or the speed to get it on the air sometimes gets in the way of the accuracy and making sure, other than being the first to report. So I would support keeping it in, because I think this is very, very important and very timely for broadcast specifically. I don't think it goes to any specific format. We're all journalists here, whether we publish or broadcast anything.
Okay, so you're against the amendment. You want to keep it in?
Yes.
Okay.
That microphone.
That microphone.
Cheryl Worsley, Utah Headliners. If the students need to be taught about accuracy, then the onus is on our academic institutions to teach them about format and how we're always accurate. Keeping format in there is redundant. I move that we call the question on this.
Is there a second? You got to do it. You're going to get more exercise.
God, you guys are going to be so sick of me. Hagit Lamore, Cincinnati Pro, second.
All right. We're going to vote now on ending discussion on this amendment. So if you vote yes, we're ending discussion. We go straight to a vote on this amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, now we're going to vote on this amendment of striking this out. All those in favor of striking this out say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. I think the motion fails. Wait, is that for just the main motion?
We're back to the main.
No, I know, but can you use this for amendments too?
You can use it anytime you want to.
All right. All right, so now we're back to the main motion as amended with that one line remaining, right? And whatever else we did. More discussion. Oh,
Okay.
Woman in the back. She's been waiting.
Sorry. I'm Catherine McCartney from McNeese State University, president of our chapter, and I'd like to yield a minute of my time to Corey Greneisen from McNeese State University.
Is she a delegate?
Oh, is she a delegate? Or he?
No, that's why I asked to yield a minute of my time.
Okay, I was corrected by my parliamentarian. You have to be a delegate to speak. If the delegates vote to allow a non-delegate to speak, then someone else can speak. But it's a vote of the delegates to allow a non-delegate to speak. So, are you saying you want, you're a non-delegate?
No, I am a delegate. I'm trying to yield a minute of my time instead of me talking for...
Okay. All right.
I move to make a motion, sorry, to yield a minute of my time to Corey Greneisen, who is not a delegate.
Okay, all right. Any discussion on this? Second. Need a second. Anybody want to second that?
Andy Schatz, DC Pro, I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so you got it. Robert's rules is stupid. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Corey Greneisen from the McNeese chapter. Thank you for your vote to allow me to speak. Our biggest issue last night when looking at the new document was the fact that living document has been taken out. And the fact of the issues of a lot of the debate that has happened here today, especially looking at format, looking at the fact that how long it's been since this document has been changed. Our formats, our technology is constantly changing. This document needs to be a living document because of the way that society and technology is constantly changing. It needs to be always open to interpretation. This is a living document. This is no different than any other type of living document. This is what we live by, and it needs to be a living document.
So do you have a motion or something?
Our motion is to put living document
or just
back in.
discussion. Oh, someone else has to make the motion? A parliamentarian, is that the case?
You cannot make a motion.
All right, so a delegate has to make the motion.
Yes, I've moved to make the motion to amend the code and add the living document, the two living document, I'm sorry, living to the document, and the footnote of the Code of Ethics.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a second? Hagid's happy for some reason. Is there a second?
Because I called it living document because I just came up with that, and
Wait,
then
are
ever
you
since
seconding
then,
this?
people.
You gotta second it.
All right, I'll
Say
second.
second.
It. I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
I'm going to just tell you, I don't care what you call it, just have it, okay? Because we need the interpretation of every single day. You students and the teachers are every day. There's new stuff coming out, and we need a either living or a statement of abiding principles. Just have it. So if you want, you can vote to call it the living code or not. I don't really care. Just have it.
Further discussion. Go ahead.
Eric Francis, Arkansas Pro. Let me just try to throw a little perspective on the living document abiding principles argument. If we think of this in comparison to the AP style book, you have the AP style book, you have Ask the Editor. That's what we're talking about doing here essentially. The ethics code and the whatever we're going to call it.
Lauren Bartlett, I'm speaking as a member of the Ethics Committee, and I just want to explain that what we're calling it has not in any way changed what it actually is. What ultimately will be on that one page is the code, and the code won't change. What we're planning to do is have those links in the pages and the explanations as technologies evolve, as issues come up. So there's no substantive change. We were just changing what we're calling it. just for your chapter's understanding.
Further discussion? Mr. Schatz.
Andy Schatz, DC Pro. I'll speak against the motion because I don't know if your intent follows what the committee's intent was. The committee's intent using living code was to actually signify that there will be other parts to it, annotations, footnotes, background material that's attached to it. My objection to that was living code to me means something different that's more along the lines of what you're saying, which is that we're going to constantly change this every so often. I'm not opposed to that if the delegates want that, but that was not the intention of the committee, and that's why the wording was changed.
Further discussion?
Am I allowed to speak up again?
Unless someone else doesn't want to. Unless no one else wants to talk. Right? I think. Right, Bob?
I guess it's that one.
Erwin Gratz, Maine Pro. Listen, I just want to provide a little kind of common language here because we're getting a little confused, I think. The idea we originally had in there that this SPJ Code of Ethics would be a living document. We took it out because we do not, at least on the committee, want this code, once adopted, this document, to be changed willy-nilly as time goes on. We want it to last, hopefully at least as long as the last revision of the code has lasted, which is 18 years, nearly a generation. We do want to create, thanks to the electronic media available to us, a repository of additional explanations, of format-specific interpretations of what's in this code, all of that extra stuff electronically linked to the version that will appear on our website and advertised, as you see there, on the bottom of even printed versions of the code, so that people will find that extra information. And it is that electronic information that we will be able to update as frequently as we want. And that's the part of the code, code revision, that we informally talked about being a quote-unquote living code, which nobody likes, and we're happy to find any other name for it you like. Fred, I think, would be a good one, personally, has resonance with this organization, but whatever. So.
Yes, go ahead.
I have to adjust the mic because Erwin just spoke. Jane from Morano, New Jersey Pro Chapter. I think we all kind of think in our hearts it is a living document, but I think that the rephrasing to call it a statement of abiding principles supported by additional explanations and position papers gives a more accurate description of what I got out of the discussions yesterday, and I am opposed to changing that. Thank you.
Further discussion? Well, let's go to the vote. All those in favor of the amendment, which is to add living document in, say aye. All those opposed? No. Motion fails. Onward. Further discussion on the main motion.
Joel Walsh, Northwest Arkansas Pro. A question about line 33, why the word civil was included, and a second question, does that mean that we do not support the open exchange of ideas that are expressed uncivilly?
So are you making a motion or just a comment?
First a question.
That's a question. So you want someone to answer. Would one of the ethics committee members want to answer that? A delegate? Or so?
Paul Fletcher, Virginia Pro. This is, you just opened a can of worms. This goes back to a suggestion and a proposal of how to deal with anonymous online comments. And this was debated up and down and sideways on a board call last month. We spent more time discussing how to deal with anonymous online comments and ultimately made no recommendation. We met yesterday as we The committee, I'm a member of the committee. We sought to get as much information, to be as collaborative and cooperative, and bringing the best possible document. And we apologize for all the different versions, and I hope there's no confusion. We discussed this point yet again yesterday, spent an hour on it, couldn't come up with language that everybody agreed upon, couldn't come up with whether it actually is something that deserves to be in the code. I think we resolved ultimately we would insert these two words, and civil, and use that as the jumping off link to have a lengthy, full discussion of how to deal with anonymous comments, both online, offline, wherever. But that was the intent of adding those two words, to answer your question.
Further discussion? Go ahead.
Joe Meyer, Central Ohio Pro Chapter. I also had more of a question. It may be a proposed amendment, but a question for Ethics Committee folks. I appreciate the all the work that the committee's done. I think you guys did a fabulous job. I appreciate the Northern California and Andrew's stuff, and I think the code today is better than it was. I'm glad to see that we put compassion back in. I was curious because I've been teaching newsrooms this minimized harm section of the code for 20 years. Why did we take out? And this was asked yesterday, Irvin, by a fellow in the back of the room, and you sort of answered it. But why did we take out the second clause of the existing code? Be sensitive when seeking or using interviews or photographs of those affected by tragedy or grief. And by what do you feel like that was replaced by in the new language?
Would a committee member like to answer that? Who's a delegate? Erwin? There you go.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's the language. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I know. The clause was taken out, and I guess I'm right off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure why it was taken out, but this is the language that I think the committee believed covers that area. Because we talk about photographs, and so my guess is that probably triggered our attempt to banish all semblance of specificity about formats from the code. But perhaps there's some other member of the committee that can help me on this one. And we think this bullet covers it.
If you wish Andrew to speak to that, you can vote to let him talk. It's up to you.
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro. I move to allow Andrew Seaman to speak.
Is there a second?
Paul Fletcher, Virginia Pro, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of letting Andrew Seaman, the new ethics chair, talk, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, Andrew. Here you go. They want you. They want you to hear. They want to hear you talk.
Say, who doesn't? Okay.
What'd you say?
Listen, I need what?
What'd you say?
Nothing. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't go in the minutes. Yeah. So yeah, tweet it. But no, it was to sort of condense and move it around. So really, the first line here is what we were going for. So show compassion for those who may be affected by news coverage. So we try to use that as a catch-all for a lot of different things, and that's where we're also trying to be media non-specific. So not necessarily mentioning photographs, but saying, no matter what the format, just show compassion for those affected by that news coverage, whether it be online, in broadcast, in print, pictures, illustrations, things like that.
Okay. Further discussion? We're still just talking about the main motion at this point, as amended so far with various things. I see no more discussion. Okay, a couple people getting up.
Hazel Becker, DC
Yes.
Pro. I call the question.
Well, yeah. I'll let her talk because she tried to get to the mic, and then we'll do the question, or at least vote on the question. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's Alex Tarquinio, New York Deadline Club.
I have a friendly amendment under minimize harm. Fourth bullet point, line 60 on the paper copy, to strike the words including that from social media. First of all, it's redundant. Who cares where the reporter got the personal information? And it feels a bit random, like we just stuck social media in there to prove that we're hip. It might have done that 5 years ago, but guess what? It's not hip now. It's like the phone company. And 5 years from now, we might even call it something completely different. So if our goal is to keep this an enduring document that will last a generation, I think this jumps out at me as the one phrase that might need to be revised before then. So I would recommend striking it, and that's a friendly.
Is there a second? I gotta go up there. Sorry, Carl.
Liz Enochs, Northern California Pro, I second.
You guys are the same chapter? No. Oh, Alex, no. Yeah. Discussion. Oh, yeah, wrong coast.
Lauren Bartlett, just speaking on behalf of the Ethics Committee, just wanted to explain, and if there's others who want to chime in, let me know, why this is in there. We took very seriously all of the comments that people provided, and also thought about whether there was an appropriate place to mention social media here, because we talked about the importance of this being platform agnostic, and the consensus of the committee that was that this is the right place to put it. That being said, looking around the room with a quick glance at my fellow committee members, I think we're all fine with it being taken out.
Other discussion?
The motion is to take it out, right? Yeah. You're taking this friendly amendment. Yes, I will take it as a friendly amendment if that's allowed. Yep.
Michael Fitzgerald, the New England Pro chapter. I do want to say, in a working newsroom that I was an editor in just a couple years ago, what people posted on social media was often basically taken as public information, even if they weren't public figures. I think this is useful language to slow us down and make us think in that context that just because someone has posted something that and they don't know how to change their privacy settings or haven't thought of it, doesn't actually mean that it is intended to be public media. And I do think that it's useful to have this as a potential gate when we are looking at writing about people who are not public figures.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, sir.
Paul Carr, Baylor University. I would say in 5 years from now, I would approve of this change, deleting that. I work with students, and they're still not there yet. They think social media is fair game, and I don't think by weighing the consequences of publishing and broadcasting personal information, period, is quite enough for the next generation. I would say 5 years from now, yes. I think we'll be 3 years from now, 2 years from now. But with my students, they think anything on social media is fair game, and so I would be opposed to deleting it simply because of the students I work with.
Okay, you're so opposed to deleting it. Well, yeah. I think we figured it out. Are you in favor of deleting it?
I'm in.
Yeah. My understanding with that, yes, Erwin?
I was going to suggest, Laura, that you guys not do that, because otherwise we
Right.
have to vote down the whole code.
Yeah.
Leave it live.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to have to hash this out and take a vote on this. Go ahead.
Matt Hall, San Diego Pro Chapter. I was on the conference call with the board a couple of weeks ago, and this was one of the first issues that I brought up. I totally work in the social media sphere. I'm not affiliated with the paper anymore, and I think that this is the single mention of social media in this document. We either mention it a lot or we don't mention it at all. I think that we don't need to mention it. I think, as others have said before me here, that media is media. If the idea was to get at kind of the issues that social media brings, we've done that in this document. And as with the discussion about anonymity, online comments, trolling, and the like, we don't even know if that's going to be called online commenting in 2 years. I kind of agree. We don't know if it's going to be social media in a few years, so calling it by a name doesn't really add anything, and omitting it is a safe call. As we said, we weigh the consequences of publishing or broadcasting personal information, period. It's just like public records should be open, period. We had the same argument for that. This is very similar, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Worsley, Utah Headliners. Tweeting is publishing. Facebooking is publishing. If in 5 years you think it would be okay, then would you like to be here in 3 to 5 years? I would not like to be here doing this again in 3 to 5 years. Let's make a document that's going to be apply and be relevant for decades. That's our goal here. Don't put social media in here because in 10 years it'll be blasé.
What happens if instead of including that from social media, if you just say including that from all medians, and just kind of encompasses everything, or just all. Yeah.
Okay, that was an opinion. Further discussion on the amendment.
Just one more quick comment to the teachers in the room who are concerned about their students. I think that when the commentary are published online along with the code, you are going to have so much material. Not only that, but you're going to be able to ask questions and get them answered online. And let's leave details to handle in that way. And that's how it becomes, whether we call it or not, that's how it becomes a living document.
So you are in favor of taking that out, and you are opposed to taking it out.
Yeah, I am. Corey Woodruff, Lipscomb chapter. I am a student who thinks that this actually does help. I think it does need mentioning of something in social media inside the code. As someone who has been using social media for a long time and kind of has what I hope is a decent pulse of what my generation is doing, social media isn't going anywhere. What social medias may be are up to par. Facebook may be going away. Twitter's on the rise. I don't know what it's going to be in 5 years, but I can have a pretty decent guarantee that the phrase social media isn't going anywhere, just like internet and telephone haven't. So I would definitely disagree with this idea to cut this out and leave it in there. Maybe change the wording, but don't take away social media from this because social media is not going anywhere.
Okay.
Jane from Morano, New Jersey Pro Chapter. The pertinent words in that statement, in that sentence, are personal information. I think it stands with or without that clause. So I think we can take it out without serious harm.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Lauren?
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro. Call for the question.
Okay. Second on. Okay. And this is to end discussion on this amendment.
Jane from Morano, New Jersey Pro Chapter, second.
All those, if you vote yes, we're ending discussion and going straight to voting on this social media thing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now we're voting on removing, including that from social media. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. So we are removing that from this version. Now we have the main motion on the table as amended. And Hazel Becker had moved the question. Did anybody want to second that?
I don't, Mr. President.
Yeah.
You allowed another person to speak because she had stood up, and we were stood up at the same time. So
well,
I
no. I mean, okay.
Yeah, I just
all right. One more. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
Okay. Well, and first of all, I want to say I'm Sally Lerman, NorCal, and I want to thank everybody for, spending the time with us, and especially the committee for taking the time to go through all of this with each of us that raised issues. And I think it's so important. And with that, I want to call our attention to the first line of the preamble. This is one of the areas where where NorCal had a suggestion, and the committee, we discussed it quite a bit, but we didn't quite have enough time to come to a conclusion. So that's why we're bringing it to the floor. So what we're thinking is we want to remind everyone that this code is meant to be a lofty set of ideals and principles that journalists can look at, work with, wrestle with in their daily lives all over the world, and it is used that way all over the world. But in particular, in this country, we have a special rights set aside for us by the First Amendment. And in regard to that, or because of that, we also have special responsibilities. And so in the committee's effort to streamline the preamble, we think that there were some important ideals, if I can turn this way, that were lost. So if you'll notice the current language, do you have it up there? Yeah, the current language, members of the Society of Professional Journalists believe that democracy, a just society, and good government require an informed public. Well, yes, we agree with that, but we think that it's more important to emphasize what is the greater goal, the more lofty goal, which is journalism stands in service of a just society and in service of, and the foundation of democracy. So we would like to urge that we go back to the original first line of the preamble, because it says that members of the Society of Professional Journalists believe that public enlightenment is the forerunner of justice and the foundation of democracy. And then after that, all these other responsibilities flow from that. Our job is not just to inform the public, but to serve these greater goals.
So you're making a motion. And
that's my motion.
Okay.
To make that change.
The motion to insert the first line.
To change the first line to the old wording.
Right.
That goes right before ethical journalism.
Was there a second?
Alex Tarquinio, New York Deadline Club, a second.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. All right, let's do it. This is where, Erwin, how do we do this? Okay. Okay. And split votes?
Split votes have to go to the...
Okay, we'll make this bigger. So we're going to take a vote, and when I call for the ayes, if you're in favor of that, you will raise your card up high so they can count. Right, got to hold that up high. All those in favor, raise your thing high and keep them up. Okay, restate the motion, please. That we return that line to the preamble, which says, members of the Society of Professional Journalists believe that public enlightenment is the forerunner of justice and the foundation of democracy. Was that the idea? Replace the first sentence that's there now? Yes. And what was the other sentence?
Can we have a concise explanation with reading both sentences?
Yeah. So instead of saying members of the Society of Professional Journalists believe that democracy, a just society, and good government require an informed public, instead you would have members of the Society of Professional Journalists believe that public enlightenment is the forerunner of justice and the foundation of democracy. That is the motion on the floor, to replace the one below with the one above.
Thank you, Hagit. Everybody got it? All those in favor, raise your things high. Yes, in favor of replacing the second line with the top line. Keep them up. Keep them up. More exercise. Got it, guys? All right, raise them up if you vote yes on this amendment. Raise them up. Okay, you can put them down. And those opposed, please raise your thingies, or whatever they're called. Your vote thingies.
Voting card.
Yes.
I think so.
The other two, I mean, can they put him down? 43 against. So the motion passes. All right, now Hazel. No, Hazel gets to go.
I was just saving Hazel the trip.
Oh, okay.
Jane from Orlando, New Jersey, Pro Chapter. Call the question.
How come?
Hazel had the floor, several speakers previously.
Then you let people keep going, and now you're going to call the
No,
question?
no. Well, that was the motion that Hazel had put on the floor. So we need a second if it's going to be seconded.
Lauren Bartlett.
You can always
last
vote it
sentence
down
was
if you
pro.
want to keep.
I second.
Okay. So Hazel had moved to the question, which would make us go directly to vote on the whole document, the main motion, with no debate. Just go to the vote. You can vote this down if you want to keep talking, and there's nothing wrong with that. We are at 4:45, so we have 15 minutes. It's your call. So that's your option. All in favor of ending debate and going to the vote now, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Okay, let's do another tally. Got to do it. I'm sorry, Michael, but that was the process.
If that was a process, how come other people kept talking and making amendments after that?
Well,
I would, if I knew that you're going to cut off debate to a code of ethics on a
they stood up and
after you let other people go.
Well, it was. I mean, and Sally insisted, and I should have probably gavelled her down, but no. I mean, I had to let the motion go. So we're going to do the count. If people want to end debate, it's up to the people. It's their call.
Well, I hope you will.
Oh.
I hope you won't.
Okay. Here, Michael. She's withdrawing her motion, so she wants to let you speak. So go ahead.
All I want to say is one thing I'll probably catch hell for anyway. But if delegates representing 2% of SPJ's membership, or actually consisting of 2% of SPJ's membership, and not representing 43% of SPJ's membership, vote for a new code of ethics without putting it back to the membership, with all this cool stuff that happened here today, I believe that that is unethical. I also believe that you want to change this code of ethics because you said since 1996, technology has changed so much that it's materially affected the way we do our jobs. In 1996, when I was a member of the society, the delegate system was the only system to pass anything. The technology did not exist to let more people speak. This system at the time was high tech. If we're going to vote because we're going to say, well, this is the system that we have, then I don't know how we can change this code. And I think that's the excuse of everybody that tries to deny representation to anyone else. Well, this is our rules, and it's too hard to change that now. If we're going to pass this code as delegates, I think the same argument that I made against my own motion earlier should stand. We should find a way to put this to the delegates, not the straw poll that we did, because this is just like us covering a city commission meeting, right? Whenever you cover a city commission meeting and they're trying to put a curb cut next to a daycare center, 200 people show up at that city commission meeting, and every city commissioner says the same thing. Well, why weren't you at the planning and zoning board meeting? Because I have a life, and I'm now understanding this issue now. It's percolated up. This has been a great discussion. The committee's done a lot of hard work. If we can't figure out a way, as journalists, to let our members vote on this thing, I don't think we're being ethical.
Thank you, Michael. Ms. Becker.
Hazel Becker, DC Pro. I call the question.
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro, I second.
Okay, so the motion is to call the question, which should make us go straight to vote. All those in favor of ending debate, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, so that passed. We're gonna. There we go. Got it. Now we have the main motion, and everybody understands what they're voting on here. This is the vote to approve the Society of Professional Journalists' new Code of Ethics, as you have before you, as amended today, as amended by your suggestions in our discussion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion passes. We have a code of ethics that's updated now. You know, I want to say, I think a lot of people deserve thanks for their hard work this year in every capacity. And I mean, Kevin Smith and the Ethics Committee, Michael Koretsky and Andy Schatz and NorCal and all the people hundreds of people who have submitted suggestions, who have cared about the code, Bob Buckman, Steve Buttrey, I mean, you name it. People who care so much about the code, they're willing to speak out vociferously and with passion, and we appreciate that. I think that's what this is all about, this organization. Thank you all for your civil discourse today. It was awesome. It was actually nice. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it immensely. Too much, so probably. Okay. As a reminder, the Legal Defense Fund live auction kicks off at 6:30. That's an hour and 40 minutes from now, followed by the President's Banquet at 7:30. While the President's Banquet is a ticketed event, everyone can come hear Dana Newts, the incoming president, speak at around 9:40, and then wrap up the night with dancing at our dance. That's a first-time event. So it's open to everybody. You grab anybody and everybody and come down and listen to your new president, Dana Newts, talk, and then go dance and boogie or whatever they do in Nashville, right here, and wrap it up for EIJ 14. Thank you all. Thank you for your commitment to journalism.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, and do we have a motion to adjourn?
Lauren Bartlett, Greater Los Angeles Pro, I move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Georgiana Vines, East Tennessee Pro.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are done. Good job, everyone.
Congratulations, lady.
Yeah, that was awesome. So much.